and welcome to yet another edition of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com, with me as your host, Chris Heel-Turn McLeod, aka Diagnostic80, joining me today to talk about the mess that is the Snake Eyes movie and a possible return to the script for G.I. Joe Ever-Vigilant is Justin. No, you have to be kidding me, Bell. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. Following on from our story yesterday that highlighted the possible loss of Robert Schwenke as director of the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie, we now know that he is definitely off the film, and the movie will be taking a short break despite the already pushed back release date. With that in mind, Paramount and Hasbro are looking at a rather odd contingency plan and a return to G.I. Joe 3 instead of the Ninja Commando solo film. A strong rumour from a trusted source suggests that the previously reported Ever-Vigilant script is back in play as an option going forward. Originally penned by Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec, we have discussed the script in the past on the show, and it really did sound quite out there, with the inclusion of the Crimson Twins and a number of other fringe characters being brought into the G.I. Joe movie universe. The script outlined the return of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Roadblock as he worked to build a new Joe team against the threat of a brand new dark matter weapon of mass destruction in the hands of Cobra, and would have introduced Wild Bill, Barbecue, General Flag, Doc and Keelhaul. Chuckles was also rumoured to appear, and an insane idea involving time travel that allowed the twins to capture the special weapon of mass destruction in the first place. The original
okay, never mind. This sounds better and better all the
time. The original script would have been a direct sequel to Retaliation and would have seen the return of Scarlet, Snake Eyes and Joe Colton, but in this case I would hope for a drastic change to keep it a reboot and not a continuation. This is where we find ourselves after what seemed to be an odds-on sure bet that we would be getting a Snake Eyes movie instead. Justin, what the Ever-Vigilant is going on with this project?
Oh, I've lost track. I have no idea what's even happening.
It's insane, isn't it? I mean, just from the off, do you have any faith with the Ever-Vigilant script as we know it giving us a good movie?
You know, it's weird because I see like kind of nuggets of interesting things within the rumored, stories following Ever-Vigilant, the whole thing about focusing on Chuckles and an undercover specialist and the twins. Obviously, they were sprinkling in some elements of IDW's Cobra series, which was actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
But then they take that hyper-realistic Cobra series and spin it off into the Wheel of Time and have it be like a time travel epic where it's so bizarre. Now, I'm not going to say I'm completely signing off on it, because G.I. Joe at its core, I mean, we all agree, I think G.I. Joe as we knew it in the 80s is not what it was, and they've got to do something to bring it into the modern day. I don't know if time travel is necessarily what they want to
literally
angle toward,
bring it into the modern day by utilizing time travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bring this into the modern day by going back in time 300 years. Yeah, the fact that Cobra needs to invent time travel to get a powerful weapon, wouldn't you think that time travel would be the powerful weapon? I'm a little confused as to how that all works. In order to get the super powerful weapon, we simply have to invent time travel. Well, if you can invent time travel, why are you going back to get this powerful weapon? You've got the most powerful weapon you already need right at your fingertips already.
Let's face it. I mean, we've jumped in on this story without talking about the initial aspects of it. The fact that this is a rumor at the moment. Obviously, Schwenke is off the movie. He's not going to be the director, it would appear. On top of that, the filming is going on hiatus for a short time. Well, I say a short time. It's indefinite because we don't know when. There's no return date, I suppose, until they work something else out. So therefore, we're rudderless. We're actually... There's talk now that where they're flip-flopping between or coming away from the idea of the Snake Eyes movie. So instead of a solo movie, we're coming back to a G.I. Joe 3, or I think G.I. Joe 3 is the wrong term to use because I still think they're going to reboot it. I don't think they're going to continue from Retaliation. They may do. Again, this is all conjecture, but I think they would be foolish to do so.
I think if they do, it's going to be another stupid kind of this is sort of a sequel but not really situation where maybe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson reprises his role as Roadblock, but I can't see any of the other actors stick. Like if Scarlett does show up again, it's not going to be Rachel Nichols or whatever. I mean, nobody else is going to come in from the past films and regurgitate their characters. I really don't see that happening.
Christopher Eccleston, Sienna Miller, Channing Tatum.
Well, all three of them said they hated Rise of Cobra and wanted to burn in a fire. So I don't think that's...
They'll bring in Chris Hemsworth for Duke, because he missed out the first time.
I would see that movie. Yeah, I would see that movie.
I mean, like I said, we are kind of jumping the gun a touch, but at the same time, Ever-Vigilant has cropped up as this option, and that was originally going to be a continuation from Retaliation, G.I. Joe continuation, as I'm calling it. And obviously, that kind of leads us to feel like, this is what they're going to be doing with it. It's more than likely they're going to change a lot of the aspects of this script.
I would think at this point they'd almost just have to completely start over again. I mean, unless like this Ever-Vigilant film is in some stage of production already, which I can't imagine it is, then I think you really just need to go back to the drawing board and just start over and try to put something coherent together and not keep on cobbling together these existing scripts and stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I kind of feel like if they're going to go a time travel route, then they have to go full Sunbow. Like, they have to go balls deep, ridiculous, and it has to be over the top and crazy. But then at the same time, could probably work. If you go all the way with it, it could probably work. What I'm worried about is this kind of mixture of, like you say, the kind of dark, interesting, gritty, real-life elements of the Cobra IDW series with Chuckles and Twins, etc., mixed in with this bonkers like idea. When it's not like a movie like Looper or Interstellar or something along those lines, where they look at like the science aspect of it. I'm not saying Looper looked at the science aspect of it, but when they look at it from a real perspective, or like a more realistic perspective, then that's interesting, and it comes out really well. I don't think that would happen with this film. You'd get like some weird, horrible mishmash, and it wouldn't make sense.
You get to the point where they're trying to please everybody, so they do a little bit of hardcore military, a little bit of science fiction, and it doesn't end up fully pleasing anybody. I mean, as much as the hardcore kind of, G.I. Joe hoorah fandom would want to see, straight-edged military film, the majority of the audience knows G.I. Joe from its Sunbow roots and knows it from their ridiculous Cobra Commander shouting and knowing is half the battle, the lasers firing. I mean, that's how the majority of the people know that. And if Hollywood is smart and caters to that a little bit and allows itself to kind of go whole hog in that direction, then I think, they could, and that might not necessarily be what I want to see, but maybe that's what
all I want to see is a kids movie on the big screen. I want to see like Sunbow. I want to see lasers instead of like guns. I want to see
huge cast of characters.
I just want to see. I mean, if that's what they're messing around with, trying to kind of reincorporate again, just go nuts and see what happens.
They should definitely use your tagline. Like, I want on movie posters, I want G.I. Joe Ever-Vigilant, balls deep, or ridiculous. That's got to be on the poster.
Ever-Vigilant, I've been calling it, though.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I think that needs to happen if they're going to go that route. Alternatively, if they go the Cobra IDW route with Chuckles and Tomax and Zaymot, and it becomes a little bit more gritty and a little bit kind of, a bit more serious, but but can have like, I don't know, make it like a Mission Impossible movie, like I've spoken to Paddy in the past about, and he's taught, he says like, it should be done in that kind of sense, which to a degree I do agree with. I think
that could work.
Minimize the team a little bit, but then maybe have different specialists come in and out of that particular team as the movie kind of goes on. So you're not packing it full of people initially, but you've got like a little core. The only problem with that is that Mission Impossible movies already exist and they fill that need, and that they cater to an audience that love them. So, how I suppose it's getting G.I. Joe having its own feeling and its own audience and stuff like that. But yeah, crazy. I mean, what does this mean in terms of directors? Are we talking about DJ Caruso again, like we discussed yesterday? Is he going to be? I mean, is that the most likely director?
I think it really depends on what direction they go. If they truly are kind of going back to G.I. Joe Ever-Vigilant, then I think that's the clear choice, because he's already kind of been linked to that script and that film. But again, I mean, my hope is just that they go completely in a different direction and don't follow that lead at all. But I suspect, it's been pretty clear to us that G.I. Joe is not a franchise they're putting their neck out for. They want to kind of take the safe, quote unquote, safe route. So I think this would be the safe route, would be to go with a script that's already there, go with a director that's already kind of semi-lined up, and just kind of finish that work. And I don't think that's going to do the brand any favors, but that might be what ends up happening.
And finally, I mean, this will almost certainly put another delay on the film. I mean, it has to. Do you actually expect it will happen at all at this rate? And are you quite sad that we're not getting a Snake? Well, at the moment, the rumor is that we're not getting a Snake Eyes movie. But does that make you a little bit sad? The thought of that.
I'm not a humongous Snake Eyes fanboy anyway, so I don't know if I'm necessarily sad about. The biggest thing I'm sad about is that we were so close to some 100% confirmation that some kind of G.I. Joe movie was happening.
Yeah.
And now we're not. And I think Snake Eyes would have been kind of a more manageable way for them to handle that. So in that way, I'm sad. I'm not necessarily sad that a Snake Eyes movie itself isn't happening, because I don't feel the need to revisit Snake Eyes' origin for the 100th time.
Yeah.
But I think that would have been a good way to kind of get back into the G.I. Joe universe. So in that way, yes, I am disappointed that that's not happening. Although I'm not necessarily crushed that a Snake Eyes solo movie itself isn't on the docket.
Do you think it's going to happen at all?
I don't think so. I'm really starting to suspect that the G.I. Joe franchise as a film itself is just kind of destined to. There's scores and scores of movies that are caught in this development hell, what they call it, and you hear these nuggets come up every once in a while. Oh, production is starting on this, and then it just kind of fades away. Oh, production starting on this, and then it fades away. I'm really starting to see a pattern here where I'm really wondering, if this is ever honestly going to happen or not.
Yeah, it does feel like the kind of the modern day Thundercats story, doesn't it? Or like you say, the Masters of the Universe kind of situation. But mate, I don't know. It's just such a mess at the moment, and it just. I know this is it's different for us because we're scraping for any bit of news that's coming out. So like obviously when we find something, we jump on it and we're excited. It doesn't necessarily mean something's happening, and I think we've got to that point now. Even though Hasbro are trying to push it, I don't think I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It just does not seem likely.
In any case, Justin, thank you for jumping on at this short notice.
Sure.
Again, we'll probably be talking again in a few minutes when the new director gets put on.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they start filming tomorrow with the cast that they announced.
Oh God!
I was really hoping for some news out of SDCC this coming weekend, so I'm desperately sad, in actual fact, that it's more likely that this whole thing is just going to be the same as it has been.
I know. I think his Tank's article actually said maybe more to come at SDCC, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Yeah.
In any case, thank you for jumping on, mate. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my awesome co-host Justin Bell. See you next time, and hopefully it won't be as depressing as the next. And as always, full force, full time travel force.
No kidding.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force. Cobra is taking over this month with Cobra Convergence 4. The entire month of July will be turned blue thanks to Hooded Cobra Commander 788 and a plethora of G.I. Joe related YouTubers, podcasters and much, much more. So make sure you check them out over the 31 days of July. All hail Mighty Cobra.